Substance Abuse and Dependence Among the Elderly by Sally Spiller. I thought I would start the presentation with a little demographics. In this presentation, when I say the elderly, I mean persons aged 65 and older, which is currently about 17% of the population. Though only about 17%, they consume 30% of all prescription drugs. By 2030, the number of adults 65 and older is expected to reach around 72 million. As the population grows, so will the number of people needing substance abuse treatment, which is expected to triple to nearly 4.4 million. Illicit drug use among the elderly is not that common. It is much more likely to see alcoholism and prescription drug abuse. Older women, in particular, because of their lower body mass, tend to experience more negative effects of alcohol. It affects them more strongly, and it usually takes less to feel the effects. Generally, more men have substance abuse problems, but women are more likely to begin drinking later in life. This is because generally women tend to live longer than men, and women are more likely to experience the death of a spouse. This stress, compounded with other life stressors happening, could be precursors for drinking as a means of self-medicating. Older women are also more likely to be prescribed medication for depression. Which brings me to my next point. Combining medications and alcohol can be very dangerous. The elderly are prescribed benzodiazepines more than any other age group. Benzodiazepines include Xanax, Klonopin, and Valium, and as we know, benzodiazepines taken with alcohol can be physically dangerous to the nervous system and can slow down brain activity. Alcohol can also completely counter the effects of benzodiazepines, basically making them useless, which may lead to further attempts to drink more to self-medicate. The elderly population is also prescribed opioids or painkillers. These include Vicodin. Elderly individuals who abuse alcohol usually fall into one of two categories: late onset or early onset. Early onset means that you began drinking before the age of 65, and as you would imagine, they generally tend to have more physical problems as well as more mental health problems. They have usually learned to drink in enough moderation to still be able to function in life and to appear in seemingly good health. An issue with early onset drinkers is that prolonged heavy alcohol use can be especially dangerous. As our metabolism slows down, the liver filters the alcohol less efficiently and is therefore more often saturated in the toxins. Late onset drinkers usually start after the age of 65, and they usually begin to drink in response to life stressors. This can be anything from declining health to retirement, loss of mobility, loss of friends. Early onset drinkers tend to predominantly be women. The nice little old man or nice little old lady syndrome. Family members generally do not want to say that their grandma or grandpa or even mom or dad has a substance abuse problem. They don't want to upset the person or feel that it's not respectful to say anything to them, or it could just be that they don't see it as a problem. It's not hurting anyone. Why should it matter? The problems aren't due to the drinking. All grandma has is her cocktails at 5 p.m. Well, why should I take that away? Alcohol abuse, and especially prolonged alcohol abuse, can be especially dangerous in the elderly population. As we grow older, our sensitivity to alcohol increases and the tolerance decreases, so it takes less and less to feel the same effects of alcohol. Our metabolism also decreases, and so the effects remain in the body for longer. Our body mass also decreases, so there are more pronounced effects of substances. So not only is it more potent, but it stays in the body for longer. Substance abuse may cause or even exacerbate already present cognitive or physical disabilities. This includes confusion, memory loss, or falling. Substance abuse assessment is often very difficult among this population. Alcohol and medication abuse are often overlooked because so many of the symptoms are also common among the elderly. Many of the symptoms listed tend to present like other things, such as dementia or Alzheimer's, or even depression, things commonly found in the elderly population. So, this is why it's important for all healthcare professionals to assess for any substance use before making any clinical diagnoses. Substance abuse is also hard to spot because the elderly may not show signs of abuse like the younger population. If the senior doesn't drive, then they won't receive a DUI. Even if they did drive, they're probably less likely to receive a sobriety test when they get pulled over. The seniors tend to not have wild parties and blast music, prompting any run ins with the police. The senior may be retired and therefore may not have employment. Therefore, they're less likely to run into any employment problems having to do with substance abuse. So, in general, there are less opportunities to realize that there is a problem, and they're far less likely to be mandated to undergo treatment as a younger population. These are the assessments that are recommended for use with the elderly population. The first is the CAGE. It's simple, quick, only 4 questions. This one is nice because it takes so little time to use. The audit is another option. It has yes/no answers. This is especially helpful for early onset users because they can begin to explore the negative consequences that's associated with their substance use. The MAST-G is another option. The G stands for the geriatric version, so it's specifically geared towards the elderly population. Another one that you guys may not recognize is the SAPE, or the Substance Abuse Profile for the Elderly. It's about 50 questions, multiple choice. Unfortunately, you do have to pay for it, but it is a good option just to have in your tool belt, and again, it is specifically geared for the elderly. Treatment issues and options. The elderly have different triggers and needs than the younger population. Therefore, they would need a treatment that is specifically geared towards them. It's harder for this population to attend AA meetings. They may not have access to them if they don't drive, or they may not want to leave their home. They may not have times that are good for the elderly. They may not want a younger sponsor. They may want somebody the same age as them or maybe even older. They may not feel they can relate to other members of AA or just feel that they don't fit in. Another alternative to this is SIS, or Seniors in Sobriety, which is a 12-step alcoholics program that is specifically geared towards those over the age of 65. You can also suggest senior centers, which have support group type meetings, they have activities, or it's just good places to socialize. Volunteer work has also been found to be very effective. It's important to provide the elderly with opportunities to widen their social circle and to give them new avenues to become more active rather than to be isolated. However, it has been shown that once the elderly population does enter treatment, they're more motivated and they're more likely to complete the treatment with people their own age as opposed to a younger population. That's my presentation, guys. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your summer.